New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Barbara Schreiner Trudell, affectionately called Rev B. Welcome to Joy. And Joy is my acronym for Just One You. So I believe the path to joy comes from accepting ourselves exactly as we are, where we are, the way we are, how we think, feel, so on and so forth. And so today I am really excited to start this program on this network. And so I'm just delighted that you're all here to be here with me today. And I have my guest, Marjorie Wingrove. Marge, welcome.
Hello, Barbara. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so grateful you're here.
Deirdre as well. Deirdre's joined us.
We got to have a little animal love in the house. So today, this show is really about the journey to our authentic self and how some of us struggle a little bit along the way because maybe the people around us aren't quite accepting of what it is we're doing or how we're doing it. They may have judgment or criticism about that, or maybe we have our own where we sit back and go, well, I really want to do this thing, but who am I to think that I could do such a thing? Well, from the words of Marianne Williamson, who are you not to? So as we begin today, I want to just talk a little bit about the journey. Now, I know my journey to ministry was filled with questions and, will my Nana still love me if I become a minister of the Centers for Spiritual Living? Maybe not. So that journey of finding the path, finding the way, allowing ourselves, in many traditions, women cannot be ministers, but here I am. So there's something about this call to ministry that can challenge us in a few ways. And I know, Marjorie, you've had a little experience of that as you've been walking your path. Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, well, and I feel like I've just sort of officially come out to you this past week. So it's pretty fresh. Good. I'm glad he's gone. He's distracting, looking at me lovingly. It's hard not to give back that attention to him. Yeah, several years ago, a few years after I started going to CSL Toronto, which you founded, I started doing some of the courses and thought, well, I'll do practitioner studies. And then as I got a little deeper into that, I thought, ministry, why not ministry?
Mm-hmm.
And then life took over. I spent several years just working on keeping my family alive.
Yes.
Just to put it lightly.
Motherhood.
And there are lots of changes. And in fact, 2 years ago, I slipped away from New Thought completely because of an incident that happened in my life, and it was something that happened that really violated my spirituality, violated my beliefs, and made the language hard to listen to. And I spiraled. It was, it was quite a depressing time, and I really wondered if I would ever feel joy again. That being the name of your show, but I felt very lost, and I knew that there was going to be some way that I would find myself back to my own beliefs, because they really are my beliefs. They're not somebody else's. That I needed to get used to the language again anyway, and make it my own again. And as it happened, when I sort of reached out to you, you said, Marjorie, I'm starting a church in 2 weeks, a church and a center in 2 weeks. And the timing was just phenomenal. So I've been engaging in your classes, and this week, as I was in meditation, the vision was so clear, to return to the idea of the path of ministry. So I'm exploring that, and to
And
not be,
how
what's that?
how does it feel to get back into that exploration?
Oh, it's it's so free. It's so freeing,
Yeah,
and it's so good to be able to reclaim, um, my feelings about my own spirituality.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I feel like I'm being vague, but it's a pretty turbulent time when you lose your faith, and it's even hard for me to say that out loud.
yeah,
But it's been really important to me to return to it.
yeah.
And like you say, you I wonder about, what will my family say if I tell them I'm being ordained as a minister. I mean, that's all this funny fantasy in the future, right? That's not what's going on now. So, um, I'm I'm focusing on what's going on now. Like, what does ministry look like in my current life? What does that look like?
And what's interesting is really there is only now. When we project too far into the future, we make things up,
Oh,
right? That we can worry about, that we can think about, that we can second guess. So we want to let all that go and go right here, right now. What is it that I can do? Or what is it that I bring? Or what is the call? Because I know for me, I was called to ministry. I didn't go there for the fun of it. Um, it was because a lot of times it hasn't been fun. It's there's been days when it's been kind of challenging, but ultimately there's such a joy in being able to speak from your own experience, but also with a very authentic voice of this is who I am, and this is what I bring, and this is the life that I choose to live. And I know when I was doing my orals at a Sillamore years ago, I remember, finishing everything and waiting to find out if I was going to be, a minister or not, whether or not they were going to pass me. And I remember seeing the Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith give a talk, and all of a sudden it became clear to me that no, I wasn't going to be the minister who trained me. I wasn't going to be like that. I was going to be a little bit different. And watching Beckwith owning the stage and yelling and all the things that he does on stage, I sort of went, "Oh, I could do this." There was this shift that happened, and I've caught myself back and forth where it's like I can really step out and be the outrageous me that I like, or I can hold back going, "What will people think?" And I think that's the journey that we're on, and we're coming out of really wild times, 2 years of lockdown, um, and, here we are just trying to find our way again with, war and racism and, COVID and Indigenous children. And oh man, the world is like in an upheaval. And I think it's our spirituality that helps us to maneuver that with a deeper sense of grace. And so important that we not hide. So what do you think is going to take for you to kind of step into this new idea in a really brave and courageous way?
For the whole world to see. Let's hear it.
They'll make it to the wind, they say.
Grove, what are you gonna say, Wingrove? Um, well, in the treatment that I sent you uh, the other day, it said, well, I'll paraphrase and add to it too. But there are hundreds of ministers, but there's only one me,
Yes.
just one me, Jom, and only I can do what I can do the way that I can do it. Nobody else can do that. And um, I'm veering away a little bit here, but when I was about 30, my late 20s, 30, I thought I would like to be in the funeral industry. I would like to be a celebrant. At that time, I was trying to be an actor, or I was an actor, not trying to be an actor. Every day was trying to be an actor because that's what that job entails. But um, I thought nobody will take me seriously as to do their funeral. Who wants like this punk, weird young woman to do their funeral? And I haven't changed much. Still a little punk, still a little wacky. Um, but as it turns out, there are other people who are also a little punk, a little wacky,
A little wacky. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And they need me.
Absolutely. You
Uh,
know what? We do need you. And that's an important thing for you to remember right now is that only you can do it the way you do it. And there are people out there who want that wacky, loving, joyful, uh, remarkable woman, right? Like there
and
are people who want that.
yeah, and the thing is, I'm not going to do your funeral like a stand-up.
Mhm.
I am filled with compassion and love and empathy and I feel joy at the idea that this person has lived their life and that there are people who are turning up to celebrate that. And it's honestly, Bart, when you talk about calls and epiphanies, it's like that feeling is rooted
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
in my gut. Um, and one of my it's a strange fantasy to have, but one of my fantasies, one of my dreams, which I'm making a goal, um, is to sit with and witness end of life for those who are incarcerated and otherwise disenfranchised, be they homeless or alone in any way. But I really have this clear picture of being um, being in prison, not myself, not to stay there, but to be a witness to that experience that someone's going through. Um, if someone does not want to experience that alone, then
Mhm.
they should not experience that alone.
Well, and not everybody can sit with that. Like, not everyone is comfortable sitting with someone who is dying. A lot of people run from it. But there's a great honor and a privilege to be welcomed into that place where you're there for that final breath and that you can honor the person's journey, their path, how it is they leave. By acknowledging that there are no mistakes or accidents, that we're all here for a time and none of us know precisely what that is, what that time is, but it is however long it is. And so if we can support each other, uh, I know we've had a number of friends and things who have passed over the last few years. And when we look at how I know a couple people who've recovered and they've gone, like, a lot of my friends just disappeared when I got the cancer diagnosis. It's like they just kind of I didn't hear from them again. And I know people are uncomfortable talking about death and they're uncomfortable talking about cancer or disease, but what an honor to be able to sit with somebody and just hold space with them and tell jokes and cry with them and hold them if they need that or distract them if they need that. Like there's some great experiences that happen as we walk through this end of life experience, which all of us will go through
Yeah.
at some point in time.
Um, in the last few years, I've been studying, training to be a death doula, end of life doula,
Mhm.
because of, ironically, because of the pandemic, I haven't been doing any in-person work. Meanwhile,
Right.
so many people are dying. But that I think that journey kind of got picked up as I sat, partly why because I sat with my mother as she was embracing um, her death, her final days,
Yeah.
which were 17 years ago this week, actually, just a couple of days ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But I remember being with her, and sometimes she was so funny. So when you say laugh with somebody in their final days,
Yeah.
I remember saying to her, "Oh, I was going to ask you something. I don't know. I can't remember what it was." She said, "Well, you better think of it soon." I know. But there were other moments I sat with her, and she had cancer in her liver, and it bothered her so. It was so uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
she had me rub it with lavender scented oil to make her feel better. And I sat in that moment, and I thought, this is the like, this is the beast that's killing her.
Yeah.
I am giving healing touch to. And I thought, I am caressing the thing that's killing her. And
Yeah.
it was awful, but it was also this realization that she had uh, accepted that she was dying, and she just needed to be comforted.
Yeah. And there's a great
So,
gift in that,
yeah,
to just be with someone where they are. And that's one of the things that for me is so important in everything that I teach, is to welcome people where they are. You don't have to be in a certain place. You don't have to speak in a certain way. You don't have to have a full grasp of everything. You can be human.
yeah,
And in the messiness of that, I'm going to love you anyway. And I think there's something about that as we have our life experiences, when we show up less than perfect, Sunday night was a perfect example with Will Smith showing up maybe a little less than perfect, uh, but showing up in his humanity, whatever that was, whatever, caused the trigger or whatever, it's irrelevant. It's, here is a human being behaving in a way that we all find unacceptable, or most of us find unacceptable. And why do we find it unacceptable? Why is it that when I make a mistake, I really hope there's no camera on me so nobody notices. But the truth is that the experience, I've had days where, if I was on camera, it would be like, "Ooh, I don't want people to see me like that." But it reminds me to be conscious moment by moment, and also to acknowledge and accept that I'm not perfect. The divinity of me is perfection, but the humanity of me is messy. And to get okay with that idea of sinner and saint, that, there's that part of me that appears broken and flawed, and there's the part of me that's divine wholeness. But when I put the two together, I actually have that true wholeness. And that's when our authentic self can be revealed, that part of us that simply can love wildly and express passionately and be joyful in the midst of chaos or whatever. So we're on a journey, and wherever it takes us, right?
yeah. The phrase that's been playing over and over in my mind this week is from the Lord's Prayer,
Mm.
which is, "Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us."
Yeah.
And um, as people debate, and this week everybody's been debating about everything, not just Will Smith, but the way Regina Hall behaved, which was appalling to me. But she's very lucky that Will Smith took the attention off her. But um,
I don't know who she is.
oh, don't make me go there. So
Okay, we won't go there.
I'm just going to forgive her trespasses. um, because, as you say, we all live in humanity. We live in this human experience, and we're here to make mistakes, and we're here to behave badly, and to I appreciate so much how your deep commitment to forgiveness and the process of forgiveness. Um, your book, the workbook on forgiveness, it says it's a 30-day book, but it's an everyday book.
It's a lifetime book.
Lifetime book. I keep going back. I go, oh yeah, that one. Um, and every time I go to that, it becomes an exercise of forgiving myself. It's not about something somebody else did ever. Like even the person I think has most wronged me, it turns out it's never about them. It's always about me, me, me. So it's um, so how do I forgive myself for how, you know,
And that's the journey, right? It has to start right here. It's hurt people that hurt people. And so if I'm projecting crap onto you, well, then I've got something to look at because there's something inside of me that I've disowned, discredited. There's something in me that's aching. And if I stop pointing my finger out there, you know that story, one
yeah.
finger's pointing out, there's a whole pile of them pointing back at me. But if I can really get that I am responsible for my life experience, all of it, all of it. Ew, ouch. I've had some colorful moments, but I've been married 5 times. I mean, come on. That's colorful.
I don't intend to catch up. I've only had 3. So
Oh, you're a rookie.
only been 3 then. So I'm done.
And you're done? Yeah. Well, I'm sticking with the last one. It's been 20 years. It seems to be working, so I'll stick with it.
So good.
As we're looking at things like COVID and the lockdown and, should we mask? Shouldn't we mask? Should we vaccinate? Shouldn't we vaccinate? There's been so much battling, so many battles going on between families in work environments. I know here we were firing people who didn't get vaccinated. If you didn't get vaccinated by a certain date, you're out. And it's like, wow, how do you do that in a democracy? I think it's a democracy, last I heard, but we're journeying along and there's things happening and it's causing like great battles between families and stuff, causing this immense separation. But ultimately we live in a universe that is one thing. And we're all in it together. And how do we reconcile the outer experience with the inner reality? Like that's
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah. And my opinions in the last couple of years have been very human.
I ignore the news so I can be less human and more spiritual. It's one of my, I think Marjorie froze. It's one of those things as we journey along that as much as there are difficulties happening in the world around us, how we view those difficulties, how we look at them in any given moment really matters. And can we be a part of the solution or rather than being part of the problem? And I think if we're getting really angry about things, what we're doing is we're fueling the pain, we're fueling the discomfort, we're fueling that which isn't working. And if we turn around instead and find in our hearts that place of forgiveness, that place of love, then we can begin to put that out into the world so that we're actually adding to the possibility, the potential, the reality that, life is unfolding beautifully and perfectly, even in the midst of this chaos or Marge freezing or we're back.
Now I need glasses so I can see you. Now you're a thumbnail.
Oh, you're on your phone now.
Yes.
Awesome.
I don't have a nice little holder for the phone, so let's see what I can do here.
It's all good. You look beautiful anyway.
What do you?
So we're
less there anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. There we go.
Oh well, just all good.
How's that? Whoops. Nope. Okay.
Well, that looks
That all right?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, this idea of the separation that has occurred through all the different comments and challenges that have been going on in the last 2 years. Well, longer than that, but the last 2 years have been pretty big. So what do you think is necessary right now? And we're looking at our youth, we're looking at, different things that are going on. How do we show up to be an example rather than, to be sort of part of the solution rather than the problem?
Oh, I just, as my internet went down, my teenager came home, and I had texted her and told her I was doing this, but I heard "Mom," so so good timing on the how do we show up for the youth is, oh my gosh, the things I'm seeing with the kids is so challenging to witness, so challenging to see the pain they're in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's real, it's raw. They aren't skilled at dealing with it. I see, at least in my daughter's group of friends, well, in my son's group of friends too, he's in his teens as well, but how they look out for each other and how they just keep each other alive and thriving to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of adults, a lot of people want to get there, and I'm dealing with teachers right now. A lot of people want to get there and fix it their way. They want to do, they want the kids to do it their way. And I really think the key is to hear what the youth are saying, and not just the kids, but anybody young right now. But pay attention to what they're saying, because they know what's going on in the world.
They do.
Know what's going on with themselves. They know the social threats. They know they just know the things that they face. That's it. So listening to their cues, and they're really smart.
You know what? They are really, really smart.
They've got the whole world in their hands.
They do.
The entire world. They know everything that's going on, and they're being shown a lot of pain through these devices.
And there's a whole new thing happening with the bullying aspect. Like, bullying no longer happens sort of on the playground at school, Monday to Friday, 9 to 4. It actually happens 24/7, because now we have social media and everything is being sent out. It's like they're chatting online and they're on Discord or whatever, and they're in this constant communication. So there's no peace. When I was a kid 100 years ago or thereabouts, I could go home to get away from it. But my daughter, who's 17, she cannot.
No.
It's like wherever she is, that, she's got her cell phone and her computer and her video games, and all of it is connected, and
at the same time.
All at the same time.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, they're doing all at once. And it's interesting because I talked to her principal. Well, I've talked to the, different principals at her school a few times. And I remember one time she was struggling with math. This was a couple of years ago. And, we had a meeting with the math teacher, because I didn't think the math teacher was doing a very good job. And so we had this big meeting, and the principal was in the meeting as well. And, he told Genevieve, you just got to buckle down. You got to put your focus on that math. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, and I turned to Genevieve and I said, okay, you got to get a passing mark. That's it. End of story. And he's looking at me like I just spit at him or something. But the reality is, fighting her and trying to force her to learn something that she hated. But what's interesting is, in grade 10, her math teacher, we were having a meeting, because I thought we should have a meeting, and he goes, she has such a mathematical mind, and her marks were in the 80s. Grade 11 should be getting harder, right? Now her marks are in the 98, 99, 100. I'm like, okay. So sometimes when we just let go and we allow them to find their rhythm, to find their voice, her passion is her music. That's
Oh.
her passion, right? So why would I force her to give that up to study math? It didn't make sense to me. But these kids are fierce, and the principal said to me at one time, "I've never met so many kids who are so articulate and so clear about in their minds what's right and wrong."
Yep.
One teacher showed up wearing a T-shirt that said "All Lives Matter." Well, Genevieve lost it. She went to the principal and said, "You got to tell him to take that off." And he goes, "Well, what? Well, don't no, don't even go there." It's like we know why he needs to take that off. He can't wear that shirt here or anywhere for that matter. And the principal was suggesting that maybe the kids should explain it to the teacher why. And she went, "I'm sorry, we're the kids. You're the adults. You take responsibility. We shouldn't have to do that." Not to mention the guy was married to a black man. So he already knew the T-shirt was wrong, but it's like, what are you gonna do?
It's
So
incomprehensible. And
yeah,
the things that the kids know about the teachers too, because it's all on somebody's
they
talking,
know
it spreads like
everything. Yeah,
fire,
they know
right?
everything.
What teacher is
Yeah.
getting with what students, and it's amazing any teacher has a job right now.
Yeah, I think it's hard for everyone at the moment, with all of the chaos and confusion that's going on. It's, finding our footing sometimes can be a real stretch. And I know for me that I put a lot of weight in my prayer practice and in my meditations, that making sure that I have my inner time so that I can deal with what's going on in the world outside of me, because otherwise it can become very overwhelming. And I don't watch the news. I just cannot make myself do it. It is, and I get all the highlights.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you
People
don't
tell
have to
me
watch
stuff
the news. Sometimes I watch the late night talk shows to sort of get an idea of what's going on.
like Trevor Noah and Samantha Bee
Yeah,
and
Seth Meyers. He's my
well, those are the places I like to get news as well.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna watch it, it's gonna be there.
So silly. But no, yeah, you can't.
Saturday Night Live.
I mean, when you don't watch news, you can't stay away from the news because people talk about the news.
Yeah, they
So
do.
yeah, we're not blind to what's going on. That's for sure. But yeah, to not allow it to sicken ourselves, right? To not allow that energy to make us sick, and to be part of the solution, right? Part of what heals the world.
Yeah, I
Keeping
think that's the most important thing, right? Is that the thoughts that we're thinking goes into the collective consciousness
Yeah.
and lifts it or drags it down.
Yeah.
So what do I want to be? Do I want to be part of the possibility thinking, the idea that maybe we can create a peaceful world? Or do I want to be part of the, oh, everything's bad, wrong, and terrible, and just sucking it down into the mud? Like, I think that's something that's going on all the time. And it's easy to slip into that. We look at the world around us, and especially here in Canada for the last 2 years here in Toronto, where we haven't even been able to, gather, right? We've been shut down for quite a long time, and it's now opening up, and it's a little bit of a stretch to even reconnect.
Yeah.
We've been apart for so long. So it's this journey of finding our own personal way. And for me, I think that the only way we can experience true and lasting joy is if we can accept ourselves as we are, where we are. And that's where I came up with that acronym for joy, just one you, right? If there's only one of me, I'm unrepeatable. If there's only one of me, then what would it take for me to show up as the best possible version of myself. And I think so often we're telling ourselves, well, I should do this, or I should do that, or I shouldn't do this, or, oh, well, that was a good idea, but I don't know if maybe I'm not good enough. And we've got these stories. They're not even our own.
No.
They were given to us by well-meaning people who thought it might protect us somehow or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Same reason that you're resisting ministry.
Exactly what I was going to say is like all those voices, like whoever they came from, all those voices are denying me the expression that I'm feeling, to go that path of ministry. And once I recognize those voices, then it's like, well, like, what do I do to not silence those voices, but accept those voices and hear my own voice?
Yeah.
And I was telling you the other day about things I do to distract myself. So it's things that I love and are important for my self-expression. But I also now recognize them as a distraction, away from the larger expression of myself. And I don't. Anyway, I mean, I've enjoyed my life a lot till now, and now's the time to express bigger. And every kind of expression I've ever experienced, leads to being able to do a bigger expression. And I'll during the last couple of years, it's been my art.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been just art to me. It's been like really cathartic expression. And because of that, I have achieved one of my bucket list items, which was I was offered a solo art show.
That's exciting.
Which is phenomenal. So that's in
when
June.
Is it?
What's that?
When is it?
In June.
In June.
In Peterborough, part of the First Friday Art Crawl, and it's at Acme Gallery in the Commerce Building. So that's nice. Super freaking cool. And but then I realized that I'm not just doing, like, I started really distracting myself with it.
Yeah.
I thought, ooh, I'm going a little off track here. Like, I love doing art. I love sewing. I love creating in that way. It makes my brain happy. But it was kind of taking me away from another purpose, which is more meaningful to me. And it's that distraction has allowed those the other voices to be heard rather than my own.
Yeah.
It's sort of two things, right? The art has been my own voice, like in spades. It's just been like the things I'm doing on those canvases aren't anybody else. And a friend of mine said, I just love how you don't can we swear here? I love how you don't give an F. And he says that he really worries about how people will perceive his art. And I said, oh, I don't care. It's all ephemeral anyway.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that really shuts down our voice, is that fear of what is somebody else going to think about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, what other people think about me is none of my business. But I'll tell you, we make it our business, don't we? It's like we want to know that everybody loves us. Well, everybody doesn't.
So this is maybe rhetorical. I don't know. Why do we do that? Why do we crave approval? Why do we,
I know.
why do we feel like we need to, why do we accept that judgment from other people?
Yeah.
It's
And ignore the blessings. Have you ever noticed that? It's like you could have 1,000 people in the room, 999 of them are going, woohoo, woohoo. And one of them goes, oh, you shouldn't have done it quite that way. And who do we listen to?
that's right. Who was it? Was it you telling the story about the person in the audience who was just like
Yeah.
shaking his head through?
A friend of mine shared that with me. I can't remember who it was, saying that they were looking out into the audience the whole time they were doing their talk, and there was a guy in the front row doing this through the whole thing, and it was so distracting to him. And he's thinking, "Oh man, this guy's hating this." And then when he was leaving, the guy, joined the line to shake hands with the minister, and he goes, "Wow, I can't believe I lived my whole life totally wrong like this. This was so great. I love this so much." And the whole time he's shaking his head, no. It's like we perceive things from our own sense of insecurity or whatever, rather than receiving it in how it's actually intended. And so we make mistakes, that saying, assume makes an ass out of you and me.
That's right.
It's like, and we do that all the time. And we're in a crowded place, and we're walking along, and we see somebody we know off in the distance, and we look at them and smile, and they just turn away, and we think, whoa. It never occurs to us that they didn't see us.
Right. Well, that I'm I'm usually the person who doesn't see people. So because I can't see. It's like, if you're more than 30 feet away from me, I don't know you're there.
I don't know you're there. That's why I dyed my hair purple, so you could see me in a crowd.
That's right.
I stand out.
So just thinking about a story, when I was doing a kids tour as an actor, it's quite a long time ago. I was doing a kids tour. Well, just to give you an idea, it was when I was with my first husband, so it was that long ago, the late 80s. But we were in Belleville, and the stage at the school in Belleville that we were performing at is quite wide. It's quite a big stage, and I had a solo song of all things because I'm not really a singer, but I was the bad guy. I was the villain in this show.
Mm-hmm.
I came out center stage, and I'm singing my song about how I'm just going to mess up the main character's life. And there's a little kid. He's probably 5 or 6 years old, front row center. I remember he's the little brush cut, stripy shirt kid. And he leans forward in his seat, says, "Why don't you just shut up?" I'm not going to take that personally. It's a really long way off stage now.
That's great. I love what kids do, because kids just, speak whatever. My daughter Genevieve, when she was 5, she sat me down and said, you and Dad need to give me more freedom.
And she was right, wasn't she?
Well, she was right, but she was 5. I looked at Pierre and I went, oh my goodness, when she's a teenager, we're so in trouble. She's 17 now. She's okay. But it's like you get to that place of going, whoa, my 5-year-old wants space? Like freedom? Like, come on. But we're living in really different times than when we were little. And it's interesting to watch how things have evolved, how brilliant the kids are, the topics that are important to them. Like when I talk to my daughter and her friends, it's like they're really interested in human rights. They're really interested in ensuring that everyone is accepted as they are. They're really important that nobody is, taking from anybody else's culture, that everything is done very politically correct.
Yeah.
But what I love about this group of kids is how articulate they are in stating their demands, or trying to make change. And I remember one of the things that happens probably in all high schools is girls will get, and I do say girls because it tends to be more girls than boys, they'll get dress coded for what they're wearing. And so
And they are fighting back right now.
they really are. And I love it. I love it. So in my daughter's school, earlier this year, there was a girl who was in, I think she was in grade 9 maybe, but quite a chesty girl, 14 years old. And she's just dressed normal and she gets dress coded.
Yep.
Now, Genevieve could wear the very same thing. She has a smaller chest, so it doesn't look quite so. Anyway, the kids lost it, and Genevieve organized this event where on the following Monday, all of the girls in the school were going to come to school dressed however they chose, bellies showing, cleavage, whatever. They were going to dress the way they wanted. And the attitude was, how dare you as adults sexualize us as children?
Yep.
And that was her whole comment. Like, this young girl cannot change the fact that she happens to have, more chest than somebody else. So why is she being dress coded just because of her physiology? Like, that's body shaming. So she was like really upset about it. And so she organized this whole thing. And they sent an email out on the Friday going, on Monday, your kids are going to dress we just don't want anything racist. And it was like, that ain't going to be about racism. This is about them standing for a different experience and calling you all on how you're viewing these children. Because ultimately they still are. A kid who's 13 or 14 can't call that person an adult yet. And why is she being shamed because of her body shape? And so this whole journey, and so my husband said to me, well, who started all this? I went, that'd be yeah, it's like she's the one who's going to stand up for whatever cause and make sure that people hear or respond differently. And I think we're being called to show up differently. We're being called to stand with a greater sense of power. And I'm still hearing in the school system, boys will be boys.
Oh, I don't even know where to start with that.
Yeah. And that statement to me, I find really offensive. And I remember talking at school when, like, Genevieve was in, 4 years old in junior kindergarten, and it's, some boy did something. Well, boys will be boys. No. When did I ever hear, well, girls will be girls?
Yeah.
Never. Doesn't happen.
Well, in grade 1 or 2, my son was being bullied by one of the girls.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this, here goes a can of worms. But I went to the vice principal and she said, well, she probably has a crush on him.
Don't you just hate that line?
And so as far as like, there's that line and there's the boys will be boys. But all those kinds of.
That's why he's pulling your hair.
Yeah. But all those old beliefs, all those old sayings, they're so dismissive of what the child is going through. It's,
exactly.
When a boy is acting out or, can't sit still in the class, or, boys will be boys. Well, no, maybe that kid needs some extra help. Like maybe, like, don't dismiss this kid. He has some extra needs that need to be addressed. Don't just say, don't just blow him off.
Well, and that's
frustrating. And and don't diminish the experience that the people who are subjected to that behavior are having either.
I think the whole system could be, worked a little different. I think our teenagers should go to school later in the morning.
Yep.
They're not morning people.
No.
And I think too that if we began looking at these children as people and began treating them as people rather than less than or idiots or whatever it is that sometimes they're thought of. And a child who can't sit still, well, let them stand. Let them move around a little bit. They're going to learn a whole lot more by moving around the room as they're listening, because it fits with their psyche. It works for them. And so finding, I think the messages of our world are really about conforming and being normal. Well, normal doesn't exist. That's
That sure didn't work for me when I was in school.
no, what's normal? Normal is a recipe for mediocrity, right?
Yeah.
If I strive to be normal, I'm
And a sense of failure.
yeah.
I've shared with you that I have a recent diagnosis, a recent stamp on a piece of paper that says I have ADHD. And as you said, oh really? I'm like, nobody has been shocked. But what that is kind of a gift, and not a free pass, not anything else, but it's changed the narrative of my history, and it has given me the gift of, it's like, oh, not being a failure, just because
I function different.
Just because I'm creative, and that my mind wanders, that I daydream, that I create things that that I think sort of parallel to other people. That it's like, what a brilliant gift that is. It's like, oh, it's like I'm not supposed to be in this line. I'm supposed to be in
this line,
my own line, and
forging a new path forward.
But I've been thinking about how a class is made up. Like there are kids on all the spectrums. There are kids on the autism spectrum, kids, and I hate the word disorder. All these alphabet soups have disorder at the end of them. Kids who have had prenatal exposure to alcohol, kids with ADHD, and any other number of things that affect their brain. What's going on at home? Like, there's no way that the current school system fits pretty much more than 2 of their students, probably. Is it just easier for teachers to go along with what has been in the past, and they don't need to think creatively to ensure that the kids in their class feel a sense of success? Like, it's crazy to me. Like, oh, you're not doing this curriculum. Well, I'm going to take your phone, I'm going to isolate you, I'm going to make you sit in the library, I'm going to send you to the principal.
There needs to be Genevieve's been quite fortunate, because she's been in the French school board, which is a much smaller school board. Mm-hmm. And so her classes, some of them have been as small as 7 or 8 students.
Crazy.
And then others that are big are like 20. But when you get into the public school board, the English public school board, now you're looking at classrooms up to 40, depending on the area.
There are signs outside schools saying there's not enough room in this school for another student. Go outside your catchment area.
Well, and that's the thing.
Or go to Catholic school.
We've created systems that I think they probably serve the administrative area, but they don't serve the teachers and students. And both, like when you listen to both sides are going, this isn't working. And I think, like, for me, a friend of mine, her daughter at 16 went, I want to quit school. And the school said, you can't quit until you're 18. Well, my parents said I can. Well, no, you can't quit till you're 18. Well, good luck making me come. It's like, what do you mean you can't quit school? Of course you can quit school.
Of course you can.
But you can't. It's actually, it's been mandated now here in Ontario. You cannot quit school till you're 18. And great in theory, but like I say, you try to make a 16 or 17-year-old go to school if they have no intention of going. Not going to happen. But it's like, where do these rules come from, and who are they serving? because I don't think they're serving our children. And my husband and I did a program that we created for the school board for ages, I think it was grades 4, 5, and 6 is basically what we were targeting. And we were just talking about the importance of what you put out into the world and how that comes back to you. And how when you've put something out on the internet, it's there forever. It's not, you can't take it back. It's there, it's done. And so, we created this opportunity for them by allowing them to take, they did races. They created groups and they did races where they had to squeeze out a full tube of toothpaste. Fastest team to squeeze it all out. Yay, you're the winners. And now put it all back in.
Yeah.
Right. And they're trying. They gave it a really valiant effort. They were making it. I'm glad I wasn't cleaning it up. But anyway, they're trying to stuff it back in. And, we're just making the point that once you put it out there, it's out there and it's out there forever. And it's going to get messy and you can't take it back. It is what it is. And so the hope was that at some point in time, they might consider what it is they're thinking, what it is they're saying, the things that they're posting online, whether it's nude shots of themselves or if it's cursing out another kid or whatever it is they're doing, just know that once you put that out there, it's a forever thing.
Yeah.
And you don't think that, you're going to get off easy on this one. It's going to come back to haunt you for a long time. And so we want to pay attention to what's going on and still be able to authentically share our love, our passion, our purpose. And what I love about the Science Mind teaching is that each and every one of us has the capability to think a new thought. And the minute we do that, we actually change the trajectory of our lives. We can create something brand new. And so in the classes that I teach, I'm teaching one class tomorrow afternoon called Your Invisible Power. And it's really about acknowledging in that 2 hours, what is it within me that is powerful? What is it in me that I can share in the world that might actually make a difference to the collective, not just in my life, but in life, period. And what I love about all of this is that, we're encouraging people to be uniquely themselves. Just be who you
Yeah.
are. I might not like you.
We're frozen.
Are you frozen? Are we frozen?
I don't know what just happened.
Oh, I don't know. There's your cat. But this journey that we're on, it's like, one day to the next, can I just simply show up and be joyful and grateful and begin to create from a place of positivity and productivity and possible solutions and just be the love, knowing there's only one of us here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at the time too, but
We're closing up
but
here.
when you say we get to make different choices, we get to change path, and that's amazing. Like how many different paths have I been on? And I've I've embraced each one, and oh, this is the right thing to do. Nothing is forever. Well,
No.
okay, everything is forever and nothing's forever.
Exactly.
It's like I get to change my mind and do something different anytime I want to. Anytime.
Oh,
And
exactly.
talking about school with my daughter, I was saying, let's think outside the box. And she just was like, she couldn't, like, she thought, well, within school, outside the box. And I'm like, no, what's the wildest? Like,
Yeah.
So
it's a whole new world and a whole new passion. And I want to thank you, Marge, for being here and sharing this first show with me and creating some great conversation. It's always inspiring to share with you because there's something beautiful that comes out of it. So I'm really, really grateful. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the New Thought Media Network for inviting me on this incredible network. And I'll be back here again next week, 3 p.m. Eastern Time for Joy, Just One You. God bless everybody. Have a wonderful week. Namaste.